All right, so I think we can start with this session. My name is Ophélie. I am a market analyst working for Dataxis, and I have the pleasure to host this panel with two guest speakers, Kenny Ong and David Sky, that I will be introducing a little bit later. So we will talk today about addressable TV and connected TV advertising in Asia and how those new solutions are bringing personalized campaigns on TV screens, on the big screens. So this is the first webinar of a series dedicated to innovation and growth segments in the media and video industry in Asia Pacific. It's a live session, so feel free to ask your questions. I will try to include them in the discussion or answer them with the speakers at the end of this panel. And just so you know, next Tuesday, we have another webinar covering OTT platforms and their expansion strategy in Asia with Spot TV, DAZN, and IMC Group, so feel free to join us. Before starting in the discussion itself with our speakers, I wanted to give you a bit of context by having a quick market overview of what's going on the video and TV markets across Asia Pacific and what are the business opportunities that addressable TV can bring. So I will start by showing you this chart. So Asia Pacific is a $90 billion TV and video industry. As you can see on this chart, it is led by pay TV subscriptions that generated $34 billion last year alone. But this segment is starting to contract for the first time in 2022 after what we could see as a stable and small continuous growth in the last few years. On traditional broadcast TV, we see that also there is a rapid decrease of advertising revenues, and this has started in 2020 with the hit from COVID and is rapidly losing ground in the last 2 years, where we can see that the TV advertising industry didn't really recover its pre-pandemic level. Which leads us to the growth segments, which are mostly on the digital sector, with video OTT revenues driving most of the TV and video industry new influx of money. They generated $15 billion since the beginning of 2019 and a $3 billion influx just last year. So it's also without taking into account mobile video platforms that have known an unprecedented boom in China with Douyin, the local platform operated by ByteDance, who is famous outside of China for TikTok. They generated more than $40 billion in 2022 in ad revenues alone. And rival platforms with similar business models are also gaining ground, like Kuaishou. So this is also a big shift in the video industry. And as the legacy broadcasters are increasingly moving towards IP-based solution and OTT distribution, it is clear that a growing share of the TV and video revenues will be generated by digital at the expense, as we can see here, of free-to-air TV and pay TV platforms. So now if we take a look at the region in a more detailed way, we can see that the markets are extremely fragmented. So China is by far the largest, both in terms of volume and value, but there's a much lower proportion of revenues generated from traditional linear TV compared to digital. And this is because, as I mentioned just previously, there are significant local actors that emerged as supercharged OTT platforms on the mobile segment. But this new type of platforms hasn't gained so much traction in other Asian markets so far. So it really isolates China as a very peculiar market in the region, very much focused on short and mobile content. Then we have India, who is now the largest consumer market worldwide, but expected to only experience limited growth in terms of pay TV subscription and much more potential on OTT platforms, despite generating lower revenues due to lower ARPUs. Southeast Asia distinguishes itself also by a rapidly growing OTT industry that represents more paying subscription than pay TV already. But there are very different situations across the region depending on a market level. So we have, for example, very strong pay TV markets like Malaysia with over 80% of penetration, Thailand over 50%, Vietnam over 60%. And meanwhile, other markets where free-to-air remains the main access to TV, like Indonesia and the Philippines. So a very fragmented market. And overall, Southeast Asia generated only 7% of OTT revenues across the region, despite accounting for close to 15% of its population. And this is also due to lower RPUs like we've seen in India. And finally, eastern of that, we have markets with larger values, but much smaller volumes and reach, like Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand, where we see that RPUs are obviously higher, which drives larger revenues. And so it's clear that the Asia Pacific region is split between markets with appealing volumes and markets with attractive RPUs, but both elements are rarely converging in the same market space. Now, if we take a look at the repartition of revenues, we can see that in some markets, subscription still represents the largest revenue streams for TV and video segments. That's the case in Southern Asia, so Southeast Asia, India. But increasingly, advertising revenues are nibbling out the growing share of those market revenue mix. And in some other advanced market, we see that advertising is already the main source of revenues for this sector, like Japan, Australia, and New Zealand. And that's due to a very strong free-to-air market. In China, the incredible boom of mobile video apps completely reshaped the media and content industry over the last 2-3 years, largely impacting the revenue mix in the country. And that's what we can see here with digital ads representing already 3/4 of the video and TV industry. And in this context, media groups are looking to diversify and expand other revenue streams. So as we've seen previously, a big growth pocket lies in digital. And it's a booming sector, both in terms of subscribers and revenues. So not only that, but there's also opportunities to create synergies with other digital products when media groups have activities across several media verticals like e-commerce, audio content, out-of-home advertising, online publications, etc. And that's one of the topics that we'll be covering with our speakers. So just to give a bit of context to the discussion that we're going to have right now, I wanted to have a highlight of the market situation in Malaysia and Thailand, where both of our speakers are based. So first, regarding Malaysia, we can see that Astro is generating more than half of all revenues across TV and OTT segments. So those are figures from last year, sorry. And Astro is making its revenue across several TV platforms. So they operate a pay TV platform. They also operate Enjoy as satellite distribution and a newly launched OTT service called Suka. So according to their figures at mid-2023, they were reaching more than 70% of linear audiences in the country. 1 million users on their video on demand service AstroGo, and they deployed an overall park of 5.5 million set-top boxes. And as I mentioned just previously, they're part of those media groups that are transversal to several media verticals, and they're active not only in TV and streaming, but also in radio, digital, and e-commerce. And in Thailand, True Corporation is the market leader and accounts for over 1/5 of the total TV and video revenues generated in 2022. It's a convergent telco that operates mobile, broadband, and TV services across multiple brands and activities. And it's also the biggest operator in terms of deployed Android boxes in Thailand. And they reach more than 3.2 million TV subscribers at the end of last year. So that brings me to our speakers here, Kenny Ong and David Sky from Astro and True. And the discussion that we will have now with them will revolve around what's the potential for addressable TV in their respective market, and how to leverage the strengths and assets of media groups to power new innovation in the video and advertising industry. So without further ado, I introduce you to our speakers. Here. So I would like each of you to give a quick introduction to our audience so they better understand your position and your role in your respective company. Maybe we can start with David.
Sure, thanks for inviting me to participate. It's good to appear in one of these after quite a long time. So I am based in Bangkok, and I'm the head of advertising solutions for True Digital. And my role is primarily to manage the ad technology and programmatic revenue for True ID and True ID TV, which is the leading local OTT and connected TV platform in Thailand.
Thank you. And Kenny?
Yeah, so my name is Kenny and I'm based in Malaysia. I'm the director of media solutions, which is actually the media sales advertising for the Astro Group, which generally TV, radio, and digital. So those are the platforms that we sell AdX and sponsorships on. So quite similar to what David does in Thailand.
Okay. To directly dive into the topic that we're interested in today, I would like both of you to explain a little bit to the audience what you're doing in terms of addressable TV, what you've launched so far, what kind of addressability you have, so in terms of product, but also in terms of platform. And maybe David can start again.
Sure, no problem. I think last time we spoke, we had launched our connected TV service in this market. We were running some pretty basic pre-roll ads across our inventory, but since then we've really looked to take it to the next level in terms of the different types of ad products we have, but also the targeting that we can do. A big chunk of our viewership comes from TV channel and free-to-air TV streaming. So we have over 150 TV channels that we own and operate ourselves, but also that we license from free-to-air channels in Thailand. So a big focus for us is around ad replacement and ad insertion. So we've launched, we're currently live with 4 channels, and what that allows us to do is move away from running pre-roll ads on top of live TV content. It drastically improves the user experience, and it sort of, ads will appear where users expect to see ads. And what we can do is create that seamless TV experience, but we're able to overlay that with our first-party data segments. And we're very fortunate here to be part of a telco and other businesses that have very valuable first-party data, including True Money Wallet, which is our e-wallet platform. So we are, very heavily invested in the programmatic space. We offer these segments to our programmatic buyers and our direct clients as well, but the majority of our revenue is coming from programmatic now. And we're seeing huge uptake. I think in terms of connected TV and programmatic revenue as a whole, we're up about 100% over the last 2 years, which has been a great rebound after COVID.
Okay, great introduction. Thank you. And Kenny?
So I think just to dive a little bit about the platforms that we have. So again, Astro as a pay TV operator, we started as that. And so what we do have are set-top boxes that we started from the satellite era. And we do have that about 60% of our base are still on those set-top boxes, which are what we call DTH or direct-to-home boxes. And now about 40% of our base are on either hybrid or IP boxes. Hybrid, you can switch between satellite and IP, and you have pure IP boxes. So those are about 40% of the base that we have. We also have, so the entire ecosystem is enabled with addressable since last year. So we did a soft launch. We did actually a soft launch trial in February 2022. So that we started that, but the hard launch was in June 2022. So we are about a year plus in our journey. And we also have addressable on the mirror app of Astro, which is Astro Go, which is available for mobile devices, about 1 million users right now. And also then we have our pure play OTT, which is Suka, which is addressable as well. So those are the, in terms of addressable TV, those are our ecosystem that we have since we've launched since last year.
Okay, and before we dive into how the first launches went and what are the performances you can discuss after 1 year of operating ad sales on addressable TV, I wanted to take a larger view and talk a little bit about the strategy behind launching such kind of products. So we can go back to Kenny. What are the strategic inputs that were driving the launch of addressable TV for Astro?
I think for us, when we started to launch, it's addressable TV since last year was a very new thing in the market, and trying to find the right buyers was difficult. Because you have media planners and buyers who are either from the TV side or they are from the digital side, right? So the lessons we have learned, I mean, that in that 1 year trying to do, I think the first year we did less on the sales part, more on education. So we are trying to teach the TV buyers what addressable is, because the TV buyers don't buy based on audience, they buy based on, you know, the normal ratings and stuff like that. So we have to teach them how to buy addressable, which is more like digital. Then we have to teach the digital buyers how to buy TV, because they have, most of the Gen Zs today actually don't watch TV. So we actually have to force them in front of a TV screen and show them this is how linear programming looks like, especially those who just, 25 years old and below. So we have to teach digital buyers what addressable TV is, because they know the word addressable, but they have never seen TV addressable. So we actually have to show them how addressable works on a linear format, and also when you're buying on VOD. So, and how you count different things like ratings and impressions, and how those things make a difference. So that education took us, I mean, close to a year, and trying to bridge the gap for the planners and the buyers. So that was the road that we took. So a lot of education, a lot of workshops, a lot of seminars. We did a lot of those introductory videos and stuff like, just to again trying to reinforce to the market that this is the new thing that you should look at, instead of just what you have been buying in the past.
And what were the key differentiators that you want to position yourself with? So we know that addressable TV is a more premium product than what we can find on other digital platforms. Do advertisers understand that? How do you make them understand also?
Yeah, so again, it depends on the buyers. So when speaking to the TV buyers, we are telling them that addressable is what we call a very powerful incremental reach platform. So the normal TV buyers will still continue to buy your normal TV linear stuff. But then we are saying that, okay, you are doing this reach game, but you may not be reaching or, to the specific targets that you want to for specific campaigns. So you can still continue to do your normal TV reach stuff, and buying on traditional TV ad buying, but then you use addressable to do a more specific incremental reach for the people that you want to. So we actually have to have a program to do that in the beginning, and we also use what we call brand lift scores to show the pre and post buys in terms of brand awareness. So we actually invested, and we for a lot of the major campaigns when we first started, we actually paid for the client brand lift studies. So we actually had to pay people like YouGov and the people to come up with reports to show what the client wants to do in terms of brand awareness and stuff like that. And we invested in those in the beginning to show them, especially the TV buyers, how this changes the game from just not buying just like, on rating points or CPRP. This one, you have to add this to your budgets as well. So that's the thing that we actually have to show TV buyers. But for the digital guys and the people that we are talking to, I think it's more, as we mentioned, how addressable TV is more of a premium buy and difference in terms of the quality of the audience that you're trying to reach, and also the content that you're attached to. I think a lot of people talk about content safety or brand safety, and that's where Astro provides a more brand safe environment for many of the brands that we have. And because of a lot of sensitivities in Malaysia in terms of race, religion, culture, those kind of things. So brands are a little bit more apprehensive as to how they want to portray their brands and where they want to place their ads next to. So Astro provides that in terms of addressable TV. So we provide that safe space, and we actually have, and we tell them that this is a lot more in terms of premium, in terms of the kind of audience and the content that you want to attach yourself with. So that's how we actually moved to differentiate ourselves from the normal digital buys or digital video buys in the market.
Okay. And David, how did it go in Thailand? How did you market this new type of products, and how did it perform with agencies? So you mentioned also during your introduction that you had a 1% intake in 100% intake of revenues with those new products. How did you get there?
Yeah, I mean, look, I guess first of all, it's still very early days. I think we're one of the leaders in this market in terms of talking about addressability and also being able to execute it. But I think going back to when we launched our digital platforms 5 years ago, our website and our application, the goal was to always build a premium content business powered by powerful first-party data. So I guess now that our connected TV and our Android TV platform is growing, addressable TV is sort of a subset of that initial strategy, and obviously TV specific. So in terms of the current status, so a big part of obviously what we're trying to do as well is we're trying to shift TV budgets into digital. So we identified that we really needed to have something quite powerful to make that happen, and we see targeting and addressability being a key factor in that. So in terms of our clients at the moment, there's only really one agency that's already fully buying connected TV with first-party data and programmatic on a regular basis. And, that partnership is proving highly successful. Some examples that we've had are car manufacturers that want to target specific provinces, restaurant chains that want to target specific provinces as well. So, these are the types of use cases that we're trying to build out to be able to showcase to other agencies and other brands on just how effective, digital advertising is within that traditional TV premium experience.
So you mentioned the first-party data. What kind of KPIs can you leverage for building target audiences, target segments, and what advertisers are most interested in so far?
Yeah, so we pull from 3 different places, obviously from the TrueID and TrueIDT platforms itself and the user behavior, the different types of content they're watching, whether it's VOD or whether it's live TV, and then obviously, being able to pass through the content genre into the bid stream is really important. So we have a lot of live sports, then we have a lot of sports on demand. We have a lot of local Thai series. We have a lot of Korean dramas, and we have a lot of anime content as well. So advertisers are always quite keen to be able to buy those specifically. Obviously, male and female is really important for agencies as well. But outside of that, when we leverage the telco part of True, we get a lot of requests for high income earners, people that are interested in online shopping, and a sports lover segment as well that maybe comes from outside of just people watching sports content on our platform. So they're the main first party data audiences that we're monetizing at the moment. But what we're hoping is as this grows and as the audience grows, that we can start layering on other, because scale is obviously still a problem. Once you start slicing and dicing up the inventory too much, the volume that we can deliver becomes very small. So we're trying to keep it top level at the moment, but being able to showcase the power of it, but also being able to deliver some scale.
Okay. And Kenny, what kind of target segments are working best with your addressable TV products at the moment with advertisers?
Malaysian companies are still very safe. So they work with throughout the 1 year that we've had, they basically work on a couple of things, very similar to what David has in Thailand as well. So location is one, what we will call language. So because of the multiple languages, we have Bahasa Malaysia, we have Chinese, Tamil. So that is the second one. And then we have gender, and also the one that is very highly sought after would be what we call I'm trying to find the word for it, income level. So the T20s, the M40s, and then the M40, you have your top M20 and the bottom M20, then your B40. So that a combination of the 3 or 4 factors usually is how people will buy for the majority of instances. Very few cases we have seen will go very specific, like interest. We do have that segments, but very few actually we find even up to now buy based on those segments. They are buyers, but they are not many. So maybe some broader interests like automobile or sports or food, it will skew certain campaigns. But by and large, the 3-4 major factors which I mentioned takes up most of the buys that we have on addressable.
And David also mentioned just before that it was difficult to have crossing KPIs and build like very niche target segments. Is it also an issue in Malaysia for you to sort of like go too deep in the targeting?
Yes, because when you go too deep, then I think it depends on it depends on the KPI that you're trying to measure, right? And most of the time when clients want to go very, very specific, they will use pure digital rather than addressable TV, because most of for example, on our boxes, because you can't really do conversion because you can't click on the advertisement, you can actually see it. So most of the time they would use addressable TV, in terms more of a reach tool and impressions tool rather than a conversion tool. So in terms of segmentation and targeting, they are not as fussy about it. They just want to have the broad base, the top funnel component, and then they will then supplement it with additional digital and social media campaigns that will address the more bottom funnel kind of stuff, which they will then use. So it's a very different mixture of the campaigns that we have.
Okay. So that brings me to another question. Based on what target segments you can offer, who is getting attracted by this? So what kind of advertisers did you manage to get on board up to now? Kenny mentioned that addressable TV is a powerful incremental reach tool. Is it what you bring advertisers with, meaning like usually big accounts were already working with TV and looking to addressable TV for building a more specialized approach to marketing? Or do you also bring in a lot of small entrants that are new to the TV landscape? Maybe Kenny, if you want to start.
So after 1 year, we noticed that in our base, I think we have now about close to 100 different kind of clients on board from all kinds of segments. And we're trying to decipher the pattern which they're coming on board. Of course, like you just mentioned, it's quite true. I think about 60-70% of the clients that we have, especially those repeat ones, are your traditional TV buyers who use addressable TV as your supplement or your incremental reach. So, and they found it to be very useful and they continue to do that as well. About 30% of the clients that we have right now, 25 to 30%, are a blended mix of very unique kind of clients. For example, inside there would be those that previously have not bought TV with us at all. For the past 25 years, they have never been a TV advertising buyer. But now, because of this, they say, oh, now is my chance to come on TV in some shape. And so they use addressable to come on board. So we have non-TV buyers who are now on TV through addressable. We also have a lot of SMEs. In the past, again, because of the cost factor, they have never really wanted to do addressable. I mean, they have never to do traditional TV buying, but because of addressable, the cost of it has been brought down by quite a lot. Although it's still a lot more expensive than your normal digital video buys, but being on TV is something else for SMEs, right? it's a promotion up for many of them. So they find that it is the best gateway for them to get to TV. So we have a lot of SMEs now coming on board. So I think we have about 25-30% of our addressable client base now that are in that mixture of non-TV buyers and also SMEs in that mix. Yeah, so that's what we have right now.
And David, how did it go for True? What kind of advertisers are working with you, especially if we talk about this successful partnership with an agency that you mentioned? What kind of advertisers do they bring to you?
Yeah, I think some of the great use cases that we've seen so far, I mentioned before about car manufacturers. So we have looked at targeting different demographics to showcase different models. So whether they're urban living or living up country in the more rural areas. Some particular restaurant chains that are only available in certain provinces around Thailand. So we're able to target those provinces to reduce wastage where their restaurants are not. Outside of that, yeah, a lot of it's just male and female driven. So we can target, beauty products to a certain demographic or male grooming products to another segment. So they're sort of the main ones for now. But, we're starting to see, particularly over the last couple of months, we're starting to see more and more FMCG clients who, are asking for, millennials or, younger audiences, particularly, food and snack products.
Okay. And do you have best practices to share in terms of how to bring in new advertisers? So how do you go out and get those new entrants on the TV landscape, or how do you push for addressable TV solutions to existing big accounts in your advertising mix? Maybe Kenny, if you have strategic insights to share.
I think in the initial stages, what we did was that we more or less, it was a combination of two strategies. So one was we more or less integrated AA packages into a TV campaign, and we just put it in. So it's more like a 80-20%. So you spend 100% of this budget with us, 20% will be allocated to AA. So we will plan out how, so based on the KPIs that you give us, then we will use that to blend it. So from their end, they would not see the difference, but on the back end, we use AA. Then we will show them the result if this is the AA and how you do it. And of course, that comes with heavily discounted prices when you do those integrated. So that helps in introducing AA to them and say, oh, okay, now we know how to do it. Let's try another campaign. So that's one. And the other one, like I mentioned, so some of the clients that are a little bit more brand specific in terms of how they want to reach in terms of brand awareness and stuff like that, we actually pay for brand lift studies and a campaign that will have a pre and a post buy kind of situation. And, then we show them how addressable moves in terms of, help them to move in terms of their brand scores in certain areas that they want to target. So those are the two things that we use right in the beginning. So right now, I think through word of mouth and through effectiveness, so more and more clients and agencies are coming on board. And that's how we are selling. I think maybe just came to my mind that maybe a little bit different from Thailand. For addressable, for Malaysia, especially for Astro, 100% of our inventories are sold direct. We have zero programmatic addressable TV.
Okay, yeah, so that obviously really impacts the way that you get in new advertisers and how you're able to commercialize this product. David, something to add on that? Maybe about the programmatic and how you try to push that more, I guess, than in Malaysia?
Yeah, I wish I knew the perfect answer to this. But no, look, as I mentioned, this is where I feel like we're at the very beginning of this sort of new frontier of, connected TV monetization and addressable TV. And, we're really excited about it. We think that the future's bright once we start to scale audiences and, once more and more, either traditional broadcasters or more digital platforms start to grow their audience, it can only be a good thing for the industry as a whole. But in terms of what we're doing with clients, we're just trying to build up as many successful use cases as possible. So, I mentioned about our, one particular agency at the moment, we're running up to, 10 to 15 campaigns every month. And, post post every month. We go through and we try to pull out, some of the key, KPIs or some of the sort of standout performing metrics that we can pull that we can take from that. And yeah, as Kenny mentioned, it's just a part of education. Keeping other brands and other clients up to speed with what we're doing. We haven't gone down the route of hosting any events and showcasing any of this stuff yet, and that's maybe something that we might do in the future, particularly on the ad replacement side. But we will probably look to that once we have a few more channels rolled out. So yeah, it's I don't have the secret sauce or anything like that at the moment, but we feel that we're on the right track.
Okay. So we've mentioned already several challenges that are that need to be addressed to scale up the addressable TV market. So onboarding advertisers, market education. One that you already started talking about is also measurement. So Kenny mentioned, giving the right touch points and enabling advertisers to understand how addressable TV is performing. What are you doing on this matter? So who do you work with for measurement? What can you already show? And where is the market heading also? Maybe Kenny, if you want to start.
So our measurement for TV, the partner that we have has been Kantar for the past 3-4 years. And traditionally we have used Kantar for the traditional TV ratings. Right. So we then developed the addressable measurement with Kantar when we were about to roll out addressable the first round last year. So we have kind of like improved on it. So when we rolled out, we actually rolled out independent. The report came out differently. So we rolled out addressable VOD measurement first. Before then, we combined it with addressable linear. That was the good part of the year last year, independent from traditional TV linear ratings. But since August this year, we actually rolled out a unified measurement of traditional linear TV together with addressable linear and addressable VOD combined into a single unified measurement together with Kantar that's available on their dashboard. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they call it AXM. So which agencies can then tap on and then produce the reports for their clients. So that's what we have rolled out so far with Kantar in that 1 year. So it just rolled out, I think, 2-3 months before this.
Okay. And David, in Thailand, who are you working with for addressable TV measurements?
We are currently in discussions with Nielsen around their cross-platform ratings product, which has sort of been rolled out late last year and early this year. And I think that's an interesting one for us because it's been endorsed by the NBTC, which is the sort of governing body of TV in this country. And what that will allow us to do is be able to measure uniquely across not just connected TV, but across our other platforms as well. So the web and the application, we're able to drill down into TV guide metadata as well. So we're able to start passing in the TV program names and descriptions into reports as well. So we don't have a date as to when that's going to be available, but that's something that we're very interested in rolling out.
Okay. So that brings me also to another question regarding standardization. It's a huge keyword when it comes to building the right measurement tools across the whole industry. So not just for TV, not just for one operator, but across digital media overall. Another issue with standardization would be the technical stack, because every operator launches their own solution on their own platform. I wanted to know your opinion on CTV OS advertising. So CTV manufacturers getting into the addressable TV market. Do you think there would be synergies with them? Are you working with them as potential collaborators, or rather considering them as a threat to your own business model? Maybe Kenny, if you want to start.
Okay, so if we work backwards, I think sooner or later there will be some convergence because of the overlapping in terms of audience and viewership, right? So I don't think that can be avoided. But in our view is that that may not come so fast. Looking at the current situation that we have right now, it's still so in Malaysia, it's still very fragmented in terms of even the CTV operators themselves is very fragmented, and the numbers are too small for any meaningful advertisers to actually do a buy on CTV. So I think we are still a long way more to go before CTV becomes a prominent platform for advertisers. Again, I'm looking at 1 year ahead. I will not know after 12 months how fast this will develop. But if you ask me to look at maybe the next 6 to 9 months, I do not see this changing very much. So it will be largely still fragmented in terms of CTV buying, and on platforms like Astro or digital platforms like YouTube or TikTok or Facebook, the kind of video buying that you're buying, digital buyers on the other side. So it's still relatively quite fragmented in terms of the industry itself.
Okay. And in Thailand, David, do you see opportunities to work with CTV OS to bring also addressable campaigns on their own interface?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously we're currently, heavily invested with the Android TV set-top box, and our True ID TV application is already available on the Android TV screens. But in terms of partnering with the other manufacturers, where we're in discussions with the major ones, we don't see this as a threat. We see it as a great way to grow our audience. Smart TV uptake is on the rise here. So yeah, I think at some stage next year we'll be probably live across at least Samsung and LG.
Okay. All right. Now a question to end this session would be more about what kind of innovations you're working on. What are you rolling out in the next few months or in the next year? And what are you excited about for the addressable TV market overall? Kenny, if you want to start.
So 2 or 3 things. One one is on the measurement component, which I mentioned. We've just rolled out the unified one. Traditional TV linear together with addressable linear and addressable VOD. By end of this year, hopefully end of this year, maybe latest Q1 next year, we would have what we call total unified video measurement, which includes all our video assets on YouTube and our websites and things like that. So we will combine all those into a total unified video measurement by end of this year, hopefully. So we will do that. That's one. The second one would be our commercial establishments, our B2B kind of business. So just again, let me just rewind a little bit. So what Astro has in terms of ecosystem in Malaysia is that there are many commercial establishments. We're talking about restaurants, pubs, hotel rooms, offices, government locations that actually use Astro as the entertainment platform. So they plug it into the TV, for example, in a pub or a bar, and when the EPL match comes out, this is what they will play. So they will have to use Astro Box because we are the only EPL license provider in Malaysia. So those are the commercial establishments that we have. But in the past, we have never really sold them separately as an addressable medium. And we are now launching in October what we call addressable commercial establishments, or in some vernacular, you call them addressable out of home. And we will treat them. So we have about 8,500 commercial establishments in Malaysia and in all forms. And we are going to sell them as a separate addressable audience, separate from the household and individuals, which we are selling now. So that will come out in October. And of course, the third one is to have then what we call, I think our dream is to have full addressable or full targeting of our entire ecosystem, which includes audio, podcasting, which includes our digital, both in terms of videos and static. So we want to be able to combine everything into a more holistic, addressable ecosystem rather than just of different
No, it's okay. We lost you just for a second, but it's okay.
So that requires a lot of heavy lifting on the back end part. And I think the missing component that we have, which you I think mentioned earlier, would be some kind of a single sign-on universal ID. kind of thing that we're able to, rather than do a second level stitching of data, if we can have a first level ID of across the board, then I think it will be very powerful. But right now we can only do second party, third party kind of data stitching together. But we hope to have a single sign-on kind of solution across our entire ecosystem that will enable us to then be a little bit more effective in terms of total audience targeting.
Yeah, that's also the technique that super apps can leverage to have just one ID, and we've seen how good they're performing on the market. So yeah,
this is something I think
to look out.
Yeah, I think True will be way ahead of us in terms of being able to stitch that together. Ours is very fragmented in terms of the back end.
You're too kind, Kenny. I don't know we're that much further ahead of you, but it's actually refreshing to hear what you have to say, because we're on a similar path. I think we've laid the foundations for a pretty robust offering, but now we need to improve it, and we need to scale it. So yeah, for me, identity is a massive focus. So we're partnered with the Trade Desk and rolled out the Unified ID 2.0 earlier this year, and we're already seeing fantastic uplift in terms of spends and CPMs, by using that particular ID. But we're also looking at implementing our own broader unique ID that could potentially encompass wider parts of the True conglomerate. So to include things like retail and loyalty data, privileges, etc. And then, I touched on the ad insertion or ad replacement project before. That's still a massive focus for us. So, I mentioned we have 3 or 4 channels live now, but we want to get to sort of 10, 15, or even 20 channels over the next couple of years. So that's really where we see our growth to come from. I mean, outside of that, I'm quite interested in what's happening in the AI space and what types of products that can drive user engagement and really immerse users into content, but also the advertising as well. So yeah, that's sort of the key things that we're quite excited about for the future.
I would like now to take just a question from the audience before we end. We have a question around, have you explored direct to mobile transmission to increase the viewership and ad revenue? So I guess it also brings us back to this kind of identification of profile. How do you move from the big screen to the mobile screen to drive sales and just have a more concrete conversion metrics? Kenny, did you work on that with Astro?
Yeah, so I think we are trying to actually both ways. We're trying to actually drive the big screen to the small screen, and also we have products that actually drive from the small screen to the big screen as well. So, so for example, we have Suka that has a TV component to it. So you can buy the package, you can watch stuff on mobile, and then you can then play it out on your TV. So we actually do both ways. We're trying to drive audiences in both the ways, and I think the more difficult thing to do would be, in terms of what our clients are asking us to do, will be able to then track a consumer behavior or audience behavior when they see an ad on a TV, and how that reflects maybe in a mobile and in their purchase. I think that flow is something that most clients want, but it's very hard to do. So we have rolled out recently, about a month ago, something that we tried, which is, I think maybe True have done this as well, the QR codes on TV that you can see. So we have done some kind of AI overlay in terms of content that in certain scenes, depending on what the client buys, there will be a QR code that comes out. So when people scan it, it goes to their mobile phone, and then using that as a window to then look at products or to buy something. So we're trying to connect the two to be able to connect the funnel from the big screen to the small screen. But it's not easy. Again, there has been a large disconnect between the two. And a lot of it, right now, we're doing it through a roundabout method, through campaigns. So like, for example, we did one for the World Cup, and people were watching the World Cup, and then in between, for example, halftime breaks, there will be a game on where they will have to scan the QR on their mobile phones to play a game. to win certain prizes. So from there, then we are able to capture the leads from the mobile phone. So that's how we have done in that instance. So again, it's a difficult journey, but I think that's where the gold standard will be in terms of being able to convert the two. So it's a very good question, which we are trying to crack.
And David, do you work also on this aspect, and anything to share?
Yeah, it's definitely high on our list of objectives. We're currently doing it in its simplest form in terms of we can uniquely target across connected TV, web, and app. So what we have done is played around with frequency control. So if you've seen the ad a couple of times on mobile, we won't show them again on the other platforms. But I think we've also played around with sequential messaging. So I'm trying to think of the use case. I think it was a phone manufacturer. If a user watched the ad on a particular platform, it would start off with a branding campaign. And then once they'd seen that ad, whether they were on web, app, or connected TV, the next time they would see the same advertiser, it would be about how they can buy the ad. Or, as Kenny mentioned, we've also played around with QR codes as well for connected TV. So I think, very simply, we're sort of playing around with it. But yeah, that's another thing that we'll be looking to improve and build upon in the future.
Okay. Well, that's the end of our session. Thank you very much, both of you, to have answered all the questions and to have joined us this second time to give us an update on what you've been working on in the last year for Addressable TV. I'm looking forward to get some news from you, hopefully next year. Let's see. Thanks to our audience as well for being with us. And we will be back next week for a second webinar on OTT platforms in Asia Pacific. So feel free to join us. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day. Bye.